Well, buying and selling is much more than just that. Buying and selling homes. It's really the connections that you make, the relationships that you forge, and the bonds that you create with the public. Hi, everybody. I'm Arms Bumanlag for LePage Binder Real Estate. I'm excited today because we're launching a brand new live stream show for LePage Binder Real Estate, real people with real stories on real estate. Now, this is a show where I pull back the curtain and chat with members of our LePage Binder family, get to know about their teams, their business, and the real estate market here in Windsor, Essex. But instead of, say, breaking down the numbers and talking about the facts and the different things that you may hear, we're going to get to know what these people do to not only work in our communities, but also invest in our communities, what makes them a Royal Binder team member. So my first guest on the show has been in the business for the past 6+ years. He lives by his team's slogan, "We're Realtors for Life." Family man, born and raised in Essex County. He's a sales representative for LePage Binder Real Estate. Joe Conlon is here with me today. Joe, thanks for kicking this off. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So am I guest number one then?
You are guest number one. You're the first one on the block. And truth be told, I should say the reason why we picked you is not only because the awesome work that you're doing, and we're going to get to that in the next couple of minutes, but you and I kind of have like a Kevin Bacon 5 degrees relation. I actually worked with your brother Charlie when I was at CTV Windsor for about 10 years, and he was at CTV London. What an awesome guy. So I'm well aware of the family, and I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing really, really well. Him and his wife are up there, and he's in graphic design and doing app design and video games and things like that right now, and he's doing really well.
Awesome stuff. And I certainly appreciate you spending some time with us. I know it's a busy time, really a busy couple of years for real estate as a whole. We spoke to our owner, Frank Binder, a few weeks back about how crazy the market is, but somebody who's certainly seen the ebbs and flows even long before you got into real estate is you, because you're a Windsor, Essex guy. And tell us a little bit about your background here in the region.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very entrepreneurial household. My mom's a local artist in the area, Julia Conlon. She teaches a lot of art classes still today. My dad and my mom kind of started a business together, and I kind of grew up with that entrepreneurial background. Got into sales in my early 20s, was DJing weddings and stuff on the weekend. And anyways, I kind of got into the real estate market before all this craziness back in 2012. It's actually coming up on my 9 years, believe it or not. And at 22 years old, it was a grind because a lot of people didn't, take a lot of advice from a 22-year-old kid. And at the time, the average age was still a little bit older. I think a little bit more younger agents are trying to get in now, but at that time I was able to get in and really build a following through platforms that weren't being used that much yet, like social media, Facebook, Instagram really wasn't even out yet. But at the time, I got into it and built this following and base, and then the market kind of got a little nutty and crazy. And at that point, I was lucky enough to have built at least something that could carry me through this. And I've been able to help people through this because of the experience I had in the past.
So, speaking of the social media aspect too, I mean, the other way I know of you, Joe, is the fact that, my wife tried to enter one of your Facebook contests to win a Nintendo Switch. We didn't win, but I thought, hey, this is kind of cool. Like, this guy is doing real estate and he's asking people to sort of engage with him through what I thought was a pretty cool method too. And you said you've seen some really good success with making those connections through social media.
Yeah, so we always try and do at least some sort of giveaway to give back to the community on a monthly basis. We're always trying to do a lot of sponsorships with local businesses. During the pandemic, we were giving out dinners to essential workers on a weekly basis from local restaurants. So we're always just trying to do things to give back to the community. I know it's tough times for people to purchase in real estate. I know it's tough times for people in general right now. A lot of people are working part-time from home with kids, and the whole world is a little upside down, obviously. And we want to do what we can to give back. And we've kind of been like that even before the pandemic. That's just kind of been our thing. We've always wanted to make it community first. And the pandemic obviously helped us get in there and really help out with the kind of the infrastructure we already had for that. Yeah. And the budgets we had for that.
So as a Windsor, Essex guy, born and raised, you're married, you've got your one daughter, right?
I have two daughters now.
You have
I have
two
two
now.
daughters.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I snuck one in during the lockdown. So
How's that going though, right? As a working dad, right? That's got to be a
yeah,
little bit, you know.
I got two little girls. I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. She just turned 2 in April. So she only knows pandemic life. But yeah, between that, I'm lucky enough to have a wife who's at home with them that's able to help raise our kids while we're out there working and doing those and working with our clients. But if it would be very hard. For any family right now that is trying to juggle the online schooling. We have our daughter who's in JK, but anybody who's got multiple kids or one kid in online schooling while trying to work, it'd be very hard, but we're managing to get through it. Luckily, we have an infrastructure that we've built to be able to work remotely. We kind of started this campaign that is the Joe Conlon Wireless campaign to show people that we have the infrastructure in place during the pandemic to essentially be able to do majority of the transaction wirelessly, which is hard to believe considering you're buying a home, a physical asset. But we've made it pretty seamless for people to get in and actually have a smooth experience as best we can, as wirelessly as we can.
It's interesting you say it's and I've said this many times before with Frank and other experts that we've done shows on, is that I think if the pandemic has really highlighted anything in terms of workplaces and your 9 to 5, or really, I guess in the case of realtors, right, 24/7, is how well versed we need to be in technology, but how we need to make that technology work for the clients, and we need to make the technology work for the public too. So when you go through something like a huge buy or a sell in terms of a home for a family, I mean, you've got to make sure, I would assume, Joe, that you're really showcasing what the home has to offer from the buying and selling front digitally.
Yeah, it's there's a bit of a tightrope walk there. You're like you want to you don't want to oversell it because you don't want to let people down when they get in there. There's like this, you want to show the house off as it is, but you don't want to you want to be as honest and upfront as you can. So what we basically do is we have pre-inspections done of the properties to be as transparent as we can about the property itself. People are still welcome to do their own inspection, but when we do the photos, the videos, the virtual tours, we really try to show off the whole home. We do the floor plans that show the dimensions of all the rooms, because a lot of the technology today with wide angle lenses and things which we use, it makes rooms sometimes look bigger than they are, things smaller than they are, and it's hard for people to get a true visual from their desktop or their computer without physically being in the home. So new technologies that agents are using, like iGuides or Matterports or virtual tours, they're really allowing people to walk through the home digitally. Unfortunately, it's causing the market to be even more competitive because it's allowing buyers from other cities to also look to invest here, because now they're getting a true picture of houses without having to make that trip back and forth. So you might have an extra couple buyers who may not have come during years where there weren't those technologies available. So instead of them driving down, seeing a home and deciding they like it, they could be sitting on their laptop from other cities. And then all of a sudden you get more offers and it's getting a little chaotic. But in the end, it definitely is a plus for people to be able to navigate through this market.
One of the things that you had mentioned a few moments ago, and if you're just joining the live stream, I'm chatting with Joe Conlon, and he is with the Joe Conlon real estate team and part of LePage Binder Real Estate. Happy to have him here on the program with us today. But we wanted to talk to him about, scaling up and making sure that, you've been in this business for the years that you have, but you've had a team, that sort of team mentality put in place. Now, tell me how that works. Tell me about some of your team members.
Yeah, so back in 2017, 2018, when this market really started to rev up, I was getting overwhelmed, and I wanted to live by that slogan I have, "Your realtor for life," but it's hard to please everybody when everybody starts calling you all at once. So I started playing with the idea of opening up a team, and I brought Stev Popovich and Jill Winglar on, and they kind of helped me pioneer and start this team back in 2017. And very quickly, Jill, Stev, and I got quite busy, and we brought on Steve Wild. And since then, we've brought on Zach Janice and Krista Kingston. Krista Kingston was actually my main assistant, full-time assistant for about 2 years while she was getting her license, and then came on. So she knew the business pretty well before she even had become an agent. But we also have Ashley Savoni, Deb Dickens, and we also have Sydney Patterson, who's our three assistants, and they're all fantastic. We have a great group here. We like to have fun around the office, keep it light. They're all actually coming here for sushi after this, and we have a photo shoot today. Obviously social distancing and wearing our masks, but we have an outdoor photo shoot today with the team. But they've been great. They allow us to service our clients in ways that others can't. So for instance, I have a listing on market. Somebody calls and says, Joe, solo agent could be, can I view this house tonight at 6? If I'm a agent who is by myself and I'm not available that night at 6, I'm kind of scrounging to find some sort of help to get somebody in the door, or having to reschedule and make that buyer wait. But with the team, where it allows us to have people almost immediately be able to schedule around their schedule. So if somebody says, I want to go see these 3 houses tonight, or I'd like to go list my house tomorrow, or whatever it may be, we have that infrastructure in place to make sure we have bodies out there to open doors and get people into them, because timing is everything in this market. If you have to wait an extra day or two to get into a home, that's the difference of you either getting the home or having to pay maybe more because you're competing against more offers. So it's definitely helped. It's allowed us to continue to service the clients at the caliber that I believe we need to be serviced at.
Yeah, and it's something, again, to reference our chat with Frank Binder. I mean, we were just talking about whether or not the market is going to slow down, whether or not this is sort of going to be norm for the next little bit, because, you know, Windsor has been sort of this undiscovered gem for so many years. And I think a lot of folks from up the 401 are saying, okay, or even across the country, really, hey, this is a place where we want to settle in because of our proximity to Detroit. So, you know, having that team culture is great. And then having that I guess, ebb and flow with your team members is also crucial too. But then I'm thinking last year in March, when things started to get locked down, you guys had to make a big pivot towards COVID. I mean, that must have been a big, big challenge for you.
Yeah, we didn't know what to expect. So everybody immediately went to work from home. We had 9 to 5 live Zoom calls with the team at all times, where our assistants would be in the room available. So our team, as they needed us, could chime in to a Zoom call at any time between those 9 to 5 hours throughout the week, which allowed us to have this virtual office space where people feel like we can all go in and you know, mix ideas, play around with ideas, ask questions, and be there for each other. So we did have to make this pivot to a virtual space. But yeah, this market has definitely taken everybody by storm, as well as the pandemic. And I think they kind of come hand in hand. I think the pandemic has a lot to do with it, which is the lack of supply, the lower interest rates, and I'm very interested to see where this all goes in the coming months and years. But I wouldn't, you know, there may be corrections to come. There may be still growth to come. And we'll make sure that we navigate our clients in accordingly, and we'll keep a very close eye on what's happening.
Interesting about that too, Joe, is you know, my wife and I have bought and sold, I think, a total of 3 times since we've been together, my wife and I, and you know, we're currently Amherstburg residents too. And I can tell you, when you go through the process, even us getting into the market prior COVID and prior to the market really exploding, you know, real estate can be, and I'm going to underscore it can be somewhat of a stressful process for some of the folks who may not be well versed in the nuances of what it takes to, you know, buy or sell a home. And I think that's when you have somebody who can really understand what the client wants, you're able to make that experience stress-free too. So take that whole scenario and then compound that with doing this during a pandemic and a seller's market too.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be beneficial for people to say, like, you need somebody on your side that's going to be really able to walk you through the process.
Right. So a lot of people get anxious. They get their pre-approval. They want to get out. They want to view houses right away. And we got to slow them down a little bit. We need to say, look, guys, we need to go through a crash course orientation here. So we usually want to set up this little bit of a boot camp, 1 hour, 2 hour, to really explain how the market works. So whether you're a second, third time home buyer who thinks they know how the market works, but their mentality is 5 to 6 years ago when it was a little bit different, we need to make sure they understand the strategies that are being used today. what their budget really gets them, because there's a lot of deceiving numbers out there. You see a 299 and you think that's within your budget, but truly the house may be worth 450, and it confuses people. We need to let people know the strategies that are being used and really let them understand their expectations and what that lines up with in reality. And you don't want to go in there and letting people think that their expectations get them this, and then they're going to torture themselves with houses they can't afford just to be let down over and over and over again, and eventually throw in the towel. And that's not the goal. So people say a lot of the times, well, what are you going to do as my agent to help me win? And my answer is, sometimes it's, what am I going to do to help you lose? And as crazy as that sounds, I need to go in there and make sure that my clients aren't getting so emotionally invested in this home where they overpay or make dumb decisions. So sometimes losing is okay. Like I want my clients to stay within what is the comfort zone of what a house is worth. So if I think a house is worth X amount of dollars and my clients want to go this high, then I got to go in there and really explain to them the risks that are involved there. And sometimes it's not, what's my agent going to do to help me win? It's, what's he going to do to help me lose and protect their interests, to make sure that they don't make a bad decision. Because a lot of these first time buyers, second buyers, this isn't their forever home. And when they call me, or 3 to 4, 5 years from now, I need to make sure that I'm not having to go in there and explain to them that they've lost money because of a decision they made 3 or 4 years prior, just because the market was crazy. If somebody beats you in an offer, it's because they paid more than you were willing to spend, and that's okay. That's okay. I know it's a bummer and people get emotional, and the next time they may want to go in a little bit higher. And it's okay to be somewhat competitive, but within reason. I can't let my clients go in and pay some of these prices that it takes to win, because I need to explain myself 3 or 4 years from now when I'm trying to get them that investment to go to number 2 or number 3.
Joe, and kudos to you and the team for doing that, because I really think that is so crucial too, because like you said, you've got to think about long-term. And it's nice to know that when you have somebody like representatives like you and your team and the folks right across LePage really working for the client's best interest, not just, to get them somewhere where they want to be, but to really work with them down the road. You had mentioned at the top of the show that, so many of your clients are repeats and referrals too. I mean, that speaks to you down the road because they're building those relationships. You want to work with them through the course of a lifetime.
Yeah. The majority of our business is calls coming in, not calls going out. And it's family members, past clients, friends, their family, their friends, because, we do care. And I'm not trying to sound as like the salesperson says we care about our clients. Like we legitimately care. Like if it takes us 5 more offers, 6 more offers, we don't work for the sellers. If we go into a home with our buyer, we don't work for that seller. We work for our buyer. So we're not your cliche coming in saying, oh, look at the pretty lights, look at the pretty walls. We're looking for the issues of the home. We're looking for what is going to need to be known to our client to make sure that they're being protected. And if a house were to fail an inspection, I'm not going to push anything on anybody. I need to make sure that they're aware of the risks that they're getting into. And a lot of these people are coming in pushing their limits, because their limits are kind of what are getting the houses that they want to be at. Like they're not able to comfortably go into a $250,000 home anymore. So somebody who's pre-approved up to 350, 400, 500, they're finding themselves always pushing up to their limits. So if I sell them a home that then needs a roof, a furnace, an AC, or any of these things in a few years, it could put them in a lot of trouble. And the last thing I want is them calling me saying, Joe, we need to sell the home because I can't afford all these expenses. So we need to, when we do those orientations, it's not just us educating them on the market, but us educating ourselves on them to make sure we get a really good understanding of the picture of the person we're working with, to make sure that we can protect them moving forward. If somebody has a very strong financial position, that's one thing, but some people are coming in as, I just saved my first $15,000, $20,000. I want to go buy a home. And that's just enough for their down payment. What happens if something were to go wrong? And the last thing I want is to find out in a few years, yeah, you've made money, but we're using all that money to pay off the debt that you've accumulated because of all the things that were wrong with the home. So we're very, very careful on what we are looking at in the home and the client that we're working with at that time.
Joe, what are other challenges or issues that in your experience over the last little bit, or even things that have been fantastic that you and your team have encountered with some of your clients and some of the folks that you've helped out here locally?
Yeah, like with the market and the process in general.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. The lack of inventory is going to be most people's challenge. That being said, the amount of buyers in ratio in relation to the amount of houses for sale, usually most houses are going to be in multiple offers. So the big challenges for our clients is competing offers and staying within a comfort zone like we just talked about without having to overpay, because usually if there's a good amount of offers, there's going to be a few offers that are fairly strong, and we need to make sure that if our client even has a chance at that, it's still within what we believe to be a reasonable amount for that home. So that's challenge one. The other challenge is our clients are seeing houses. You could have 4 houses listed for $399. One's truly worth $399, one's truly worth $450, one's truly worth $550, and one's truly worth $600. So our buyers' challenges are they're playing this mind game. The listing price is just a made up number as a marketing tool to get the best end result for the seller. But for a buyer, when they're looking at 4 houses for the same price, they are somehow supposed to know which ones are going to stay in their budget and which ones aren't. And that's where we come in, obviously. But it's very hard when you're online with your spouse and you're going through houses that are on market, and you're like, oh, I really like that one, just to find out that it's truly worth 100, 150 more. That's very challenging to buyers and very frustrating, because now when you find the houses that they can truly afford, they're comparing it with those ones that are up higher, and they start to heighten their expectations without even realizing it, because they're falling in love with the ones that are just slightly out of their price range. So when the ones that come in are within their budget, they don't like it as much as they should because of the way they're comparing it to others. So it's just this big mind game for buyers right now, and it's very, very frustrating. People say, you agents must love this market. Honestly, if you have a lot of listings, kudos. But as on the buyer side, I'm very sympathetic to the buyers, and I feel very very bad that they have to deal with this right now. It should be a fun experience for them to go out and buy their first home, and it's very stressful.
Well, if you're just joining us, I'm chatting with Joe Conlon. He is with LePage Binder Real Estate, the Joe Conlon Real Estate team. Some comments coming in on our live feed today, Joe, I wanted to share with you. Maria says, Joe gave us great first advice with our first sell, and his team with buying our new home, a great team that we will continue to recommend over and over again. So it really is walking through clients through the process, right? And I love the fact that you folks with your team are spending the time to sort of educate folks about what they're facing, because again, this market is certainly unprecedented.
Yeah, and it's not even just a Windsor thing. It seems to be everywhere. And we're kind of all in this together. Like I said, people think us agents love this. I want everyone to know we're here with you guys. Like, it was a lot easier when you could go take a couple to 20 houses in one weekend, find the house you like, negotiate the price, and it was yours. Now we're doing that process 10 times over with the same couple, and they're getting frustrated, and it's not fun for anybody, but we'll get through it. And all our clients end up getting homes in the end, and they're all very happy, but it might take a couple swings at bat.
With a few minutes left to go here, Joe, I wanted to get your advice, your insight, your speculation on where you think Windsor and Essex County is going to go in the next 5 to 10 years. We've seen an influx of folks, again, and you've mentioned this, we've had Frank mention this too, folks from really across province, across country sort of migrate towards Windsor, Essex. And do you see us becoming a little bit more expanded? And if so, where are we going to put these people? Do you have any ideas? Do you have any insight on, there are some new builds. I know there's some affordable housing coming down the pack. What's your thoughts on that?
I think Windsor has been very underestimated for a long time. I think Detroit has been very underestimated for a long time. We weren't as diverse as other cities because we were strictly automotive. I think after 2008 and 2009, Detroit had gone bankrupt. The area got hit pretty hard, but it allowed us to be very affordable for investors, and people started opening their eyes. I think Detroit got a lot of attention from outside investors once they had gone bankrupt, and we kind of followed suit in Toronto, and other investors started taking a closer look at the Windsor area, seeing the potential they had for just an investment. But as those investments continue to pile on from other investors, I think people are starting to see what Windsor really has to offer. There's a lot of people, believe it or not. I mean, you can ask most people in Windsor, they've been to Toronto, but most people in Toronto have never been to Windsor. And they just have this perception of what people just talk about. And I think Windsor is a bit of a hidden gem. We have large city living across the border, like most, a lot of people say. And I think our geographic location was set up in a way, like our geographic location gives us a lot of reasons to be a big city in Canada. And I think we have a lot of room to grow. I mean, we're surrounded by, we got a river, 2 lakes, a major city across the river in Detroit. We have airports. We have possible hospitals coming. We have another bridge coming. We're the top border crossing in North America. We have a lot here going for us. I think it's going to take some time to continue to build that infrastructure. But as far as where I see the city going, I see we have a lot of potential for growth. And I do, as far as where people are going to be housed, we're going to have to figure that out as it gets busier. And I think a lot of people are also starting to retire here. People's pensions in Toronto and GTA areas aren't giving them the lifestyles that they want once they retire. So I think a lot of them are migrating down to warmer climate, cheaper housing, cheaper living. As much as us Windsorites think this market's crazy, we're still one of the most affordable large cities in Canada. I think we just ranked in the top 3. And it's a lot of people are starting to come back because COVID has opened up a lot of Zoom oriented businesses. Like I know a lot of clients that live in Toronto and work for businesses that are now open to at-home workplaces. So they're coming back here to be closer to family again, and they're buying houses and working from Toronto remotely here in Windsor. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're going to see a lot of immigration come here once the borders start opening back up. So I think Windsor has a long road ahead still, but I think there's a lot of potential, and we're still going to continue to see growth for years to come.
One last question for you, Joe, before I let you go. Describe what it's like with you and your team working for a brokerage like LePage Binder Real Estate.
Yeah, so I've been with LePage since the beginning. I don't see myself anywhere else. Frank Binder and Fred Shaw are my rock. If I need anything, I know they're there for me to call. But the brokerage reputation that they have here in the city, I think is the best reputation here in the city. You see agents moving brokerages all around all the time. But LePage seems to have the same group that's been there as long as I've been here for 9 to 10 years. And everybody that's at this brokerage has a very similar mentality, client-centric mentality, and it seems to be a very good group that's very loyal to the brand. It's the largest Canadian brand for real estate, and I think the reputation, the brand alone, let alone Frank Binder's brand here in the city, has a great footprint, and I give kudos to Frank for building a business that he has.
Joe, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Thank you for being our first. We were hoping to get more of our team members on and engaged. And folks, if you're watching this and you want to contact Joe and his team, all the information will be put in the live stream link, also up in the description as well. And we'll make this available for folks on our YouTube channel too. A pleasure. Give my best to your family. Give my best to Charlie and your team members too. And keep up the great work. Thanks for representing LePage Binder Real Estate.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Joe Conlon here, guest with us on our brand new live stream show. We'll be doing this quite often, and we're going to be engaging with a lot of our folks who make up the LePage Binder Real Estate family here in Windsor, Essex. Thanks for joining us, folks. I'm Arms Bumanlag. Take care.